Hello, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing great, gentlemen. You?
We're doing unbelievably great. Giancarlo Stanton really struggling, and they moved him down in the lineup, but it wasn't a big drop. It wasn't like A-Rod batting eighth. They dropped him from third to fourth. Does this do anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just shuffles the deck a little bit. I don't think it's a big deal. It's April 19th. It's by all accounts, it's still 40 degrees and raining out there. It's not exactly the best time to evaluate a guy's full season. 18 games into the year when the weather's been crappy. So for me, I have no problem with them dropping him to fourth. It just shuffles the deck a little bit, clears his head maybe, puts him in a couple different situations. Let's see if this gets him going.
They've continued throughout the whole 16 games of saying that it was a mechanical thing. It's not New York. It's not Yankee Stadium. But I saw him hit 2 or 3 lasers in a frigid, Arctic-like condition at Fenway Park. He gets back here and he starts striking out again and looks lost. Mark, you went through this. Is it New York? Is it this stage? Is it the booing that's getting to him?
Partly. It's the chicken and the egg, right, Michael? I mean, if he would have come to Yankee Stadium the first few games and lit the world on fire and hit a bunch of home runs and driven in a bunch of runs, then I don't think we'd be talking about this because he probably would be fine and would keep it going. But just like any baseball player can at any point in time in the season, you have a couple bad games in a row. The Yankee fans, as they have every right to do, start getting on them. You got to earn your stripes. I mean, it's the oldest cliche with the Yankees, but you do have to earn your stripes. You got to prove to the Yankees, to the Yankee fans, that you belong here and you're kind of one of us. He hasn't really done that yet in New York, and so when you have a couple bad games and then you start getting booed, you do start pressing. You do start thinking about it. It's not just a mechanical thing. It becomes a little bit more. The mechanical thing might have started this little slump, but you absolutely start pressing. We're human beings, and you start pressing when you're in this situation.
As a player, do you look up and see Boston at 15-2 and see that you're 6.5 games out and start to press as well?
You should. Maybe not press. I mean, I think as a team, there's a sense of urgency. I think we always, anybody that says they don't look at the standings is lying. Now, do they worry about the standings 24 hours a day? No. But they're all over the place. They're on our iPhone. They're on every scoreboard. Everywhere we go around the country playing baseball, you see the standings. You absolutely know that you're 6 games back and the team in front of you is 15-2 and firing on all cylinders.
Are they this good, the Red Sox?
They look it right now. I mean, I think the one thing, I watched a little bit of Porcello last night. This guy's back to being that Cy Young pitcher. And now, he's really made his four-seamer a big pitch in his arsenal. You allow him to slide into that third spot or even slide in between Sale and Price. Price looks really good. Man, this Red Sox team can be great. I think Hanley Ramirez has found the fountain of youth. He's swinging the bat really well. There's a couple guys that haven't even hit their stride yet. Bradley's not really playing that well. Holt's not doing much. Once this team, I think, realized that they were good early on the first week or two of the season, they built some confidence, and now they have a team that can go into Anaheim, a pretty good ball club, and just smoke them a couple nights in a row.
Should the Yankees be concerned about Sonny Gray?
I'm not concerned yet. We're 3 weeks into the season. I don't get concerned until June. On June 1st, I need to look at my team and really evaluate where I am. And then after I look at my team, I look at the players, the guys that are doing well, the guys that are struggling, and I got to give them a little bit of time because one thing that great teams do is they don't panic when things are bad and they don't get too high when things are good. So let's not start panicking with Sonny Gray. He's got a good track record. He pitched pretty well when he came over last year from the A's. He just wasn't that ace. He wasn't that lockdown guy that the Yankees were hoping for.
Now, we're going to get to the Mets in a moment, but one final thing about the Yankees. Their lineup comes out today, and Teixeira is playing third base. And It just, I don't understand it, Mark. Again, even if I disagree with something, I can understand it, that I could accept it. But I don't understand not playing Andujar tonight when he's had 3 straight games of multiple extra base hits. No Yankee third baseman has done that since 1920. You had an off day yesterday. I know Sánchez is playing, but you're not playing a lefty instead of him. You're playing Teixeira. So why? Why would you rest him today?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's unfair for me to say one guy should be playing over another at this point in the season, but what I will say, because my point is, early in the season, you want everybody to play. You want to get your entire team into the rhythm of a season. If a guy takes a week off in July, it's not a big deal. A guy takes a week off, Teixeira or whoever it might be, takes a week off in April, he may never find it again. So the only thing I can think of is, Michael, is that everyone's trying to get at bats right now, and Andujar was the odd man out, because you're right. He's swinging a hot bat. He's a guy that you want to have in the lineup. You want to have him producing, but the only thing I can think of is you just want to cycle those at bats and get as many guys in the game as possible.
All right, to the Mets, 6-1. They blow the lead on Monday, have a chance to bury the Nationals. They lose the next day. So how big was that 9-run 8th inning last night? And would you be concerned about things spiraling out of control had they been swept by the Nationals after a loss like that on Monday?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get swept by the Nationals in that series, you lose a little bit of your mojo. I mean, the Mets right now are kind of a feel-good story. Everyone, said they were going to be kind of a 500 team, maybe sneak into that wild card spot, and now you're looking at, hey, we might be the best team in the East. Let's keep this going. If you get swept by the Nats at home, you're not considered the best team in the East. You got to really look hard at yourself and say, okay, these guys are still better than us. But that big inning, especially off a good pitcher, Matson's a good pitcher, right? They didn't do this off of a AAA guy. Scoring 9 runs, scoring in a lot of different ways. Frazier gets a big hit. You get the grand slam by Cespedes. One of the things I love about the Mets is they don't rely on the home run, but they still have it in their arsenal. And I really like the team. I still like the way that they're pitching. Harvey had bad start. The last 2 starts kind of weren't great, but I still think his stuff is there.
Now, Dave Island and Harvey starting tonight against the Braves. Dave Island, the pitching coach, said he's got to come to grips with what he is. He's not what he used to be. How tough is that for a player to change what they are? Because, Matt Harvey, in his mind, probably, in my opinion, Mark, is still the Dark Knight who could blow anybody away with a 98, 99 mile-an-hour fastball. He doesn't have that anymore, so how tough is that to become a different pitcher?
Well, it's tough, but you have to do it. I mean, you have to mature. I mean, I remember, watching Curt Schilling and Roger Clemens late in their career, because I didn't face them when they were young, 98, 100-mile-an-hour guys throwing fastballs by everybody. I faced them at the end of their career, and these guys were sitting at 92 to 94, throwing a lot of splits, a lot of backdoor curveballs, and they were pitching. And so I think what Dave Island's saying is Matt Harvey, you got to be a pitcher now. You can get away with being the Dark Knight and throwing it by everybody at 99 or 100 miles an hour. You can't do that forever. And whether you're 25 or 35 or 40, at a certain point in time, you have to learn how to pitch. And I think that's what he's going to have to figure out right now.
Albert Pujols got signed by the Angels, Mark, and I think everybody collectively realized that it was probably a mistake and that the Cardinals did the right thing by letting him go. That collective feeling, is that really taken away from us to maybe really appreciate the kind of player he is? He's 10 hits shy of 3,000, but was his reputation sullied at all when he went to Anaheim?
Yeah, no doubt. And whether fair or not, you become a better player in baseball's mind, in the fans and the media's mind, when you stay with one team your entire career. And that almost never happens anymore. So I grew up with Cal Ripken, right? Cal Ripken was an incredible player. He had the streak. He had it all. But one of the main reasons that he was Cal in Baltimore is because he stayed with the Orioles his entire career. He was a 20-year Baltimore Oriole. That made him a great player. Derek Jeter, same way. If Derek Jeter had played with 4 or 5 different teams, he'd just be a really good player. you know. But when you stay with one team your entire career, fans, you become the face of the franchise. Fans are always talking about you. The media is always talking about you. There's just a different mystique around you that Albert completely lost, even though he's arguably the best player of our generation. He lost that when he went to Anaheim. And being on the West Coast doesn't help that either.
Mm-hmm. We got a couple of text messages from some listeners, so here we go. Mark, this is from Ron Lupi from Chatham, New Jersey. When you were in a slump, did you prefer a day off to clear your head, or did you prefer to play and get the next at-bat as soon as possible?
That's a great question. It all depended. I got into slumps because one of two reasons. One, because I was thinking too much, trying too hard, and pressing. When I was doing that, yeah, a day off to clear my head would be great. The times that I was fighting through something physically that I needed to get my timing. Say I was coming back off of a DL stint and I needed my timing back. I wanted to be in the lineup. I mean, I had to be in the lineup because, physically I'm getting stronger, I'm getting healthier. I just need the reps. So if I'm really pressing mentally, that's when I want my day off. But if it's just my timing and some mechanical things, I want to be in the lineup.
This is from Kevin from Hazlitt. Do you think this Yankee team is missing Joe Girardi in the sense that we're seeing bad base running and sloppy fielding, while under Joe they seem more fundamentally sound?
Yeah, I think we're talking about a really small sample size. It's one of those things that early in a season, your team's not playing up to its ability. You also have 10 guys on the DL, whatever it is. It's a crazy number of guys on the DL. Again, you're playing in pretty poor conditions. It's a lot easier to play sloppy when the conditions are sloppy. I don't worry about this team being a bad base running or a bad fielding team, because over a long season, I think they have a great coaching staff. I think they have a bunch of veterans that know how to play the game. We talk about the Yankees' youth, but it's not like they have 7 rookies that are taking all their at-bats. The rookies are kind of sprinkled in, and they're going to take their lumps here and there, but I don't worry about the team not being a fundamentally sound ball club.
Explain Tyler Wade to me. In spring training, he was such a spark plug, the coaching staff and Boone raving about him, and then almost like the same thing as last year, he comes up here and he hasn't been able to do it. I mean, do you worry, Mark? I mean, you could judge this better than us, that he's a quadruple A player, or is he just struggling because he's putting too much pressure on himself?
I do worry a little bit, Michael, because there are certain players that when the lights come on, that's when they step it up. Gary Sánchez was a perfect example. We've talked about it, for years. Everyone said Gary Sánchez was bored in AAA. And once he got to the big leagues, he turned it on because the lights were bright, and he's like, all right, this is where I'm supposed to be. Let's go. Now, the opposite's true. Some guys are just very comfortable in the minor leagues when no one really cares, no one's really watching, you're just playing the game. But the lights turn on and you're in a 50,000-fan stadium and you just grip the bat a little bit tighter and you think a little bit too much and you try a little bit too hard. I don't know Tyler Wade well enough to say that's what's happening, but 2 years in a row, him having such poor results, maybe you got to sit down and talk with him and just get inside of his head and see if he's pressing a little bit. And
are you surprised that, Neil Walker's a pro. He's a professional hitter, that he seems as lost as he's been?
I chalk that up to, yes, I am surprised. I chalk that up to him not really having a real spring training. I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, he's a veteran, this and that, but I got the sense that he was trying to play catch-up, and even if physically you're okay, physically you're in a good place, mentally in the back of your mind you're saying, you know what, this is the first time that I've come to spring training on, March 15th or whatever it was the day he showed up. I came 3 or 4 weeks later than everybody else. I'm behind, and maybe he needs to slow the game down a little bit as well.
And let's end on a positive as we talk to Mark Teixeira on his weekly spot on the show. Everybody was expecting a little bit of a sophomore jinx when it comes to Judge, if anything. And I know it's early, it's just 16 games. He actually looks like he's a better player than he was last year.
He does. He looks so comfortable on the plate. I am so impressed with this kid because he's a man. Let's not call him kid anymore. He is a guy who knows exactly who he is. He knows what type of pitches he can do damage on. He knows where exactly he's supposed to hit the ball at different parts of the count. What pitches he's looking to drive. He has just matured so much in the last year and a half since the first time he came up in 2016. He's becoming that complete hitter right now, and it's really fun to watch.